Good pick for a win, Martin. Hell yeah! Well, they racing their shopping carts around Kroger. I like it, man. We ought to do that. That ought to be an event we do here. We ought to film that. What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Rubbin' is racing, grubbin' is tasting. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this Wednesday. Man, we got a lot of things to go over. A few new news things dropped on the way up here and throughout the day. So just a good overall show. We got to cover a lot of stuff NASCAR going on, baby. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. If it's your first time tuning in, we love to start the show out with what we call the word of the day. So basically what's going to happen is Lawrence is going to throw a word up on the screen. Every time I say the word, you're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. Thank you, sir. I have no idea what the word's going to be, so Lawrence will throw it up there. I don't know what last week's word was. Usually I have that. I have no idea what it was, but I'm going to say more than likely it had something to do with playoffs. Well, this is before I even see it. Playoffs, something different. Let me see what I got. Round. All right, so yeah, I know I said that quite a few times, especially last week's show, kind of going over those playoffs and what we're going to find, who we're going to find in and out, who's going to win races. I'm 0 for 2, by the way. I have not picked a winner yet, and to be honest, my guys in the round that I said the 4 that'll be out could possibly be all shot after this Saturday night race at Bristol, but we're going to get into that in just a bit. So there again, we're going to get into that word of the day. Today's word of the day is going to be, I have no idea, but every time I say it during tonight's episode, make sure you take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. I always like to say it's age appropriate. If you're under the age of 21, get something real sugar, get jacked up. It's hump day, halfway through the week. Have a good time, y'all. But getting right into that NASCAR news, hey man, Bubba Wallace in that 45, man, 23-11 again, another win at Kansas. That's basically a sweep for that team, the 45 team there at Kansas this year, winning both races. Man, just an awesome job by Bubba to seal the deal there. Had a great car. We're going to touch base on a few more things with him as we go on down the road, but big shout out to him. Great win, great victory, and got to take home that trophy there at Kansas, y'all. So it's official. It's all done. The news we've all been waiting pretty much for a majority of the season to figure out what's going to happen with Kyle Busch, right? Well, the Candyman's got a new deal. He is the Candyman no longer. Going to be racing over there with Richard Childress Racing, taking over the 8, which is going to be interesting because Tyler Reddick is still signed through next season, working on getting that 3rd charter team set up for him. We don't know what that number is going to be, but at the end of the day, I tell you what, it's a good move on Kyle Busch's part to go over to Childress. I mean, there's a couple organizations I think I would have liked to see him in more. I never would have thought he was going to leave Toyota, or somehow Toyota would stumble and let him make that leave. There again, with the sponsorship dollars that Mars and M&M's brings into the sport, and him being the highest contracted paid NASCAR driver, I'm sure some of that had to come into play, along with a grandson that's coming up through the ranks pretty fast. So at the end of the day, I think it's a major lose for Toyota in general when you go and you look through the sport of what Toyota has. They only have 6 cars in the Cup Series. That's 23-11, and then you turn around and you have Gibbs Racing, that contend, that are competitive. So I think it's definitely a big hit for Toyota. You're going to lose Kyle Busch Motorsports as well. All those truck teams that he owns are going to swap over to Chevys. There again, he's got some hoops to jump through in finding sponsorship and drivers for those. But at the end of the day, it's a major loss for Toyota, and that's always been a big downfall for Toyota being in the sport, is they have nowhere for these younger talented guys to move up to when you have the stable that you've had there for so many years with Hamlin, Truex, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch. I mean, we can go back and name all these guys. I mean, they're studs, they're aces. So you're not going to get rid of those guys at the peak of their career and while they're winning races for a rookie to move up and hopefully, do the same. But at the end of the day, it's done. Richard Childress signed the guy, and I think it's great. I think we're going to see, one of those legendary teams like, GMS with Petty and the Wood brothers. We're going to see one that, Richard Childress, I mean, Earnhardt Sr. forever, won a lot of championships there. I think we're finally going to see that program start to build its way back up to past years of contending week in and week out. I mean, you've got a 2-time champion with 60 wins in the Cup Series alone, the winningest driver of all time if you add up all those series wins, which I think in the modern era we might as well do. It's no different than racing 3-4 times a week like they did in the 60s, 70s. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's a huge gain. Now it's going to be interesting to see what they do, how quick and often Kyle Busch gets back to winning. Do I think we're ever going to see Kyle Busch go out and do the things that he did there in his earlier years of his career and winning back-to-back races, multiple races, 10, 5, 8 races every single year? No, I don't see that. But the sport's changed enough. But I do see that him being hungry again, getting the hunger back, and not wanting to change a crew chief every year or complaining about certain things. I think that he's going to be all in to rebuild this back to the glory days of what it was with Senior. And we'll see what he does. But that's the biggest news to me anyways that's come out this week. Kyle Busch going to RCR and got a brand new Rolex, and Braxton even got signed, man. I mean, hey, even, Braxton Busch even got signed, man. RCR is just spreading the wealth through the family, man. So big move for RCR, big move for Richard Childress himself. That's an awesome deal. Austin Dillon, some history back there got thrown in about that, that Busch wanted him to drive one of his trucks and kind of made that jump up into the Xfinity Series, and all his history came to race for Granddad. But at the end of the day, there is some history there between RCR and Busch and that family. And I think he's going to be a good fit. I think we see Kyle Busch, the older he gets, he's starting to come into his own. I think he'll always be Kyle Busch, a little bit different than Kurt. But at the end of the day, he's coming into his own, man. So big moves right there. So, moving into the next thing in that NASCAR news, man, safety. Still an issue that we've been talking about. It's hot on Twitter. Kevin Harvick's kind of leading the charge on that. But safety in the next-gen car. There were some things that I read about with an interview with Ryan Blaney of things that drivers had come together and addressed to NASCAR earlier in the season. Some of them were changed, some of them weren't. Some of them we're seeing still have issues with throughout the year. I think we've gotten better with the tire issues. I think teams have kind of figured out their way and their knack to get that under control and get that figured out. So that's going a little bit better. The fire that Kevin Harvick, Darlington, 5th place, kind of started out of nowhere, the Ghost Fire, the Phantom Fire. We definitely need to get that addressed, and I guess that was heat due to whether it be the manifold, the exhaust system, something inside the front underneath that race car was getting hot. NASCAR made some changes for coatings on that. But there again, we see what happened with Kurt Busch, the concussion-like symptoms he suffered from there since Pocono. There's a lot of things I think they'll get planned out, and this is a learning curve for both the teams and NASCAR. It's a brand new car. NASCAR, can test it and test dummy it and do a million things that they want, but until there's actual live human being in that car and hitting it at a million different ways that are known to happen, that's where you get your data. So I'm not going to down NASCAR for doing it. It's year one. I think they'll make the changes here in the off season, as they've made changes throughout the whole season to correct safety issues that we've had in the next gen car. But I thought it was very interesting in the interview with Ryan Blaney of just seeing how the drivers still want to push, and with safety being NASCAR's big baby and that being one of the biggest things that they do, I definitely think they'll get it figured out before we get into that 2023-24 season. So we just got to give it time. Hopefully nobody else gets injured like we saw Kurt Busch and go through those ranks and different things. Hopefully we only can continue to build the sport in a safe way. We just got to stay tuned and figure out and see what those changes are that NASCAR does, man. The new schedule, again, y'all, got dropped. Man, I don't really know how I feel about this, to be honest, y'all. There's some changes that have been made. We're going to get into this over the next few weeks. I'm going to save some of it. There's some changes that have been made I agree with. There's some that I wish they would have made, and there's some that I don't agree with. So I'm not going to get too hot and heavy into it right now. But the big key is, for me, one of the coolest things, I think, All-Star Week or weekend there at North Wilkesboro, man. Didn't take long. Got a little federal money, got that racetrack back in after the turnout for that race. I can only imagine what we're getting ready to see at the All-Star race. It's announced the trucks will race there as well that weekend. It's going to be an awesome deal, a piece of history coming back, roots of NASCAR. I think the next gen car is perfect fit for North Wilkesboro. A lot of these guys never raced on it. They're getting ready to have their first time doing it. And if you go back and check out Rubbin' and Grubbin' on YouTube, man, you can hear me pretty much call that about 5 months ago once we started about North Wilkesboro getting revamped. I said, do I ever feel like it'll be back on the schedule full time? No, but an all-star race, an event like that, that's awesome. And here we are, got the all-star race there. So that's going to be a huge deal, not only for NASCAR getting back to the roots in North Wilkesboro, the racetrack, but just that area of North Carolina, just that area, getting that business brought back, through the race week or weekend, and how many people and visitors come in and come out, the gas stations, the liquor stores, the Walmarts, the grocery stores, everything that they have, food, everything. It's just such a big bump for their economy. I think that's awesome, man. So can't wait to see it. That's going to be great. If you guys haven't yet, man, please go out, like, share, follow all that social media out there on, all the platforms. We got Instagram, we got the Twitter. You can find myself and Lawrence. Biggest bread and butter for us always, y'all, is that YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, like I said, like, share, follow all that social media, y'all. So getting right into some more news. Like I said, I mean, there's a few things that I want to talk about on the schedule, and one of them is just being night races. It seems that night races are huge, man, and Xfinity has 8 road course races last year, or this next year, which I think is insane. But Atlanta's date for July got switched tonight. I think that's possibly one of the best things they could have done without moving that date into the playoffs. I'm still a fan of that track being in the playoffs outside of some other ones. I know it's another kind of super speedway race. There again, that's why I said I hope they would make the changes of going, hey, restrictor plate this, and full horsepower, 1.5 horsepower, package on the second race of the year. They didn't do that, but they did move it tonight. That is going to help with some fans. Now, look, I've been going to this race since I was 4 years old in 92, 93. I've seen snow. I've seen it rain inches. I've seen hurricanes. I've seen Labor Day races. I've seen July races. I've seen March races. I've seen all of it. After May, it's hot as hell in Atlanta. It's hot as hell in Georgia, man. So I think it's something we're never really going to get away from too much. But at the end of the day, it being at night is a lot of fun. I will say this. The greatest thing for it is the fans in the stands. They don't have to show up to that race until later on in the evening where it's not quite as hot. The downfall to it is everybody that comes to camp all weekend in the Atlanta infield, that you were there all day long waiting on that race to start up. And, man, let me tell you, it gets pretty rowdy there, too. So usually by 7, you see some craziness happen. But I love some of those changes, man. I think we've got room to grow. I think NASCAR has shown that the door is open to making these changes on a whim. I mean, it's not like we're waiting 3 or 4 years to come back. I mean, these guys are making changes left and right. So I think that as long as we don't start making a lot of changes to the next-gen car outside of safety and maybe a couple tweaks here and there, and we keep the car the same, because I think the racing we've seen this year has been awesome. We're going to do good. The schedule doesn't bother me as long as Atlanta has at least one. I prefer 2, but at least 1 race a year. And, man, Atlanta, man, can't wait to get back. Another downfall, too, that I'm not happy about, it went from 500 miles to 400 miles in the spring. It is now the Better Health or whatever it is, 400. In Better Health 400. It ain't better because it should have been 500. Then it would have been in better. But anyways, man, the Fold of Honor is over with. That was always a 500-mile race, which I love. 400 miles is going to be just fine. Show's going to be good. But anyways, that's just a couple things in my eyes. We'll get more into that schedule change as we get on. But that'll wrap it up for the news, man. Oh, yeah, I do owe a dollar. Lawrence is always going to remind me. Owe a dollar in there. So getting right in, checkered flag for charity, y'all. I tell you what, there again, near and dear to my heart. It's a personal friend of the family we're doing this for. If it's your first time tuning in, what we do here for Rubbin' and Grubbin' on the checkered flag for charity is whatever car number wins that race, we donate that into our swear bucket for our checkered flag for charity. If y'all know, I already announced it, man. Bubba Wallace in the 45. Won at Kansas, $45 more coming in there. That brings that total up to over $3,000 on the year, dude. That's freaking awesome. We got a lot more going on here. October 15th, I say it all the time, been announced in the last few weeks. October 15th, Rubbin' and Grubbin' first annual Burnout Barbecue Contest right here at Coach's Corner. So that stuff is up. You can find it out there on Facebook. If you follow me, just look up Brandon Bain, Wham Bam. You can find that. It's an event. If you want to cook in it, awesome. If you don't, you want to come up and support, come up and support. We're going to have a lot of raffles, a lot of good things in general going to be going on. College football is back, y'all. There is no better spot in Savannah, Georgia to watch college football outside of Coach's Corner. He could have every single freaking game on the TV that he's got. I promise you that. There's enough TVs for that. You see the stream behind me. This thing's always going to have the dogs on. It won't be the hugest game that weekend. They're playing Vanderbilt. But at the end of the day, man, it's all for a good cause. So make sure if you'd like to pre-register, we'll have registration opens at 8. Contest starts at 9. It's a three category contest: chicken, ribs, and any other pork item. So you got to bring your meat, got to bring your smokers, got to bring the $100 entry fee. Half that goes to the Checkered Flag for charity, the proceeds for Payson Thompson. She's a student out here at St. Andrews on the island. She lost her mother. We've been raising money all year for her educational fund. We got 50-50 raffle going on, cooler full of joy. We're giving away a boat trip. We've got some Tybee Island gift packages, some restaurants down there that are willing to donate some stuff and items. So it's going to be an awesome time. I hope to see everybody there. But like I said, on the year, man, for Payson, we've raised a little bit over $3,000, dude. We still got, what's this? We got 8 weeks, 7 weeks left in the season. The barbecue competition is going to be that last big fundraiser we do for us, so make sure you guys come out and show support, man. Awesome time. But again, you can find that on Facebook, you can find it on my Twitter. Just look it up. Coach's Corner presents first annual Rubbin' and Grubbin' Burnout Barbecue Contest. It'll pop up. Like I said, if you want to register, you can go ahead and register there. You can, personal message me right on there you'd like to. But anyways, like I said, you can register the day of. It's 8. Competition starts at 9. Cash payout to those 3 categories and an overall grand champion. It's always a great time, always fun, man. So make sure you guys come out and support these local causes here at Coach's Corner. Thunderbolt, y'all. So moving right into that next, my second favorite part of the show, and this is sponsored by Arborman Tree Service. My buddy Parker Eccles out there owning Arborman. Always one of my main sponsors outside of Coach's Corner. Thank you, Parker, for everything you do, brother. But traffic's starting to heat up a little bit, man. We hadn't really had a big threat yet. We still got another, 6, 8 weeks left in there. November's going to heat up. September's heating up. October's always a hot month as well. So, man, look, fingers crossed, everything's been good, but you never know when, right? And the last thing you want is trees or branches falling on or through your home. Make sure you give Parker Eccles a call over there, Arborman Tree Service. He's locally owned, locally operated, insured. Would be more than glad to come out and take a look at what you got going on, man. Whether it's a tree trimming, cutting back some limbs, full tree removal, stump grinding, Parker's got you covered, man. So make sure you give Parker a call over there. Arborman, you're going to see that number scrolling on the screen all night long during tonight's broadcast. Make sure you give him a call for any tree service needs out there, man. Parker, love you, brother. But getting into the who's hot and who's not, and if you've been watching the show, man, you should know usually on the who's hot list, we got some changes this week, y'all. I had to bite the bullet. I had to change it. But we'll go ahead and get started in with that who's hot. So moving right into the who's hot, we got a new person taking over the #1 spot. I'm not going to say he took over the crown from my boy, but he's definitely been heating up, and that's the 11 car of Denny Hamlin, man. I tell you what, 2 second-place finishes for both those opening rounds in the playoffs. Looked like he had the car to win either one of them, to be honest. Came up a little bit short, but I tell you guys all the time, NASCAR is a streak sport. It is momentum. It doesn't matter who it is. If they start finishing inside that top 10, top 5, week in and week out, leading some laps, contending for wins, they're on the verge of a victory. 9 times out of 10, they're going to win a race, man. And Denny Hamlin has just been doing that. I mean, we know when it comes to playoffs, he's usually always a contender. We like to refer to him as this generation's Mark Martin or et cetera, et cetera. Look, this year could be a year he goes out and wins a championship. It's not who I had picked to win it, but he could. The 11 team's been executing. They've been keeping those pit road mistakes and things that kind of bit them late in the race down to a minimal. Stage 1 and Stage 2, you can rebound from. If you have something happen late Stage 2, early Stage 3, that's pretty much a wrap for you, depending on where we're at. So at the end of the day, 11 teams been doing really good. Denny's been driving the wheels off of it, man, and I got to give him credit where credit's due. I love the comment that he made last week about Bubba Wallace. They asked if he would have let him win that race or kind of laid back. And Hamlin said, when you race for me at 23-11, nothing comes easy. I would have easily gone up there and taken that win away, no question asked about it. So love Denny for that, man. But look out. 11's heating up and falling into championship form at some of the finest times, man. We'll see what he does at Bristol. We'll see if he's on that top 5 list. But at the end of the day, he takes over the first place on the hot. 2, come on, y'all.
Come on, man.
Y'all know he wasn't going too far out the list. Chase the Bulldog, Elliott, still coming in a second right there, man, for me. There again, like I said, I think all season long, he has been the most consistent contender for a championship. He's gone out, battled back with Alan Gustafson in that 9 whether it's been trials on pit road, whether it's been car issues, in-race issues, they've always found a way to rebound and come back. 11th place finish at Kansas isn't ideal. Definitely the race at Darlington isn't ideal, so he finds himself a little bit further back in those points than I'd like to see him. But Bristol's a great place for him to come and turn around. We all saw what happened last year at this race. Looked like him and a teammate were going to battle it out. Harvick got a little needy and greedy. Elliott went in, came back out, held Harvick up for Larson to come in and get that win, man. So we'll see if any of that, if it's all swept under the bridge, if any of that stuff comes back into play. But I look at Chase Elliott as the championship favorite still in my eyes. There again, like I said, he's top 5, top 10 almost every single week, barring any accidents, any wrecks, anything happening. But pretty much top 5, top 10, and wins, man. So I think the next round in the playoffs and the following round are going to suit him a little bit better than what we see here. Bristol's going to get the start to it. But at the end of the day, when we start getting into these next rounds, next 2 rounds of the playoffs, I think you're going to see Chase Elliott come home with 1, possibly 2 wins, if you ask me. So moving on to number 3, we got a new guy on the hot list again, man, and I think this is the kid that doesn't get enough credit for what he's done throughout the season over there at Joe Gibbs Racing, and that's the 20 of Christopher Bell, man. Christopher Bell, you know, they like to talk about Hamlin, and obviously Hamlin and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex are always going to be 3 big names that are brought up, but let's be honest, Truex mixed the playoffs, they're hunting for wins. Hamlin had a little bit of a rough go of a season. He's got a couple wins on it, but here we are into the playoffs. He's finally starting to heat up. Kyle Busch has that 1, but there again, inconsistent, fast everywhere we go, but just can't get the finishes throughout that race. Christopher Bell struggled a little bit throughout the summer months, man, but kind of, I think, really found himself this year at JGR and showed everybody that potential and that talent that we saw in Xfinity and that we see behind the wheel when he dirt races. So I think Christopher Bell is probably right now the best driver at Gibbs consistent-wise. Not saying speed, not saying week in and week out we come and we're going to run up front as a Denny Hamlin, we're going to win stages. But let's be honest, man, he had a really good race car there at Kansas. He finished inside the top 3 or top 4 there at Kansas as well. Dude, I mean, he's a really good race car driver, so I would think I would fail him if I didn't put him on the hot list. And I got him a little bit further down on the sheet, but I will tell you this, the odds for Christopher Bell this weekend are looking pretty good, and you're looking for a guy that knows how to get around Bristol and a car that's done it before, the 20 car, you better watch out for Christopher Bell. You heard it here first, man. So that'll do it for the Who's Hot, y'all. We're going to get right into that Who's Not, and a couple guys on the Who's Not that's been there earlier in the year and that are there now. So at the end of the day, Kevin Harvick finds the not list, y'all, and it's just the trouble in the playoffs. That's what it boils down to. I know the Fire running a top 5 at one of his best racetracks at Darlington, a place that we've seen him win numerous times, and that he always runs really decent at. Kind of fell off there, caught on fire, burned him up, lost it, man. This one here this past weekend, another really bad finish for Harvick, so he's almost in a must-win. Got to come into Bristol. There again, a racetrack that we've seen him have success at. He's got to go in to win. So we'll see if he can do it. With me, the inconsistency that we've seen with speed and numerous things with Harvick throughout the season, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I'm not saying he can't, because he's done it before. 11 playoff victories, and I think 3 of them have been must-wins. So it can happen. He is known to do it. But right now, just what I've seen throughout the year, it's somebody I don't see making it, which I did have making it before these 2 races. I didn't think he would be in the position he is. Maybe he comes out and gets it done. Maybe he comes out and wins that race, man. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, I never count Happy Harvick out, but he's got a big hill to climb at the last great Coliseum there at Bristol, and it's going to get wild, y'all. So we have to keep an eye on that. Ross Chastain makes the cold list, man, and this is something I think a lot of people give a lot of credit for, and they look at him as being this, you know, amazing race car driver, which he is. He's a good race car driver. He got 2 wins there earlier in the season. He's got a lot of top 5s. Trackhouse has been very consistent all season, but it's time to win, and it only gets harder to win as we go into these playoffs, especially for Ross Chastain. I think he's burnt too many bridges throughout the regular season. I think that they're not fast enough at the racetracks that we're going to see on this schedule. I think that they're going to have to pull one out of the hat and figure out a way to get up front and lead laps again. We haven't seen that over the last quite some time there again, to be honest, later months of the summer. So I think with them, the biggest issue is they're going to have to find speed again, winning speed. Not that they don't have speed, they're up front, but they got to find winning speed or a winning call to go out and get a win. Because if we get into this round of 12 into 8, or if he makes the round of 8 and he thinks he's got a chance at the 4, I think payoff's really going to start coming back. I don't have him making the round of 8, to be honest. I have him out in the round of 12 right here. And that's just me. I just think that he burnt too many bridges. It's nothing personal against Ross Chastain or Trackhouse and the equipment. But at the end of the day, I think you just made too many enemies, and guys aren't going to give it to you as easy as sometimes you're going to need it to be given to you. So keep an eye out on that. But Chastain, again, makes that not list, y'all. Last but not least, Kyle Busch, man. And it has nothing to do with the personality. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with luck and just the all-around season for 2022 for the 18 team, man. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen this guy pull up, and I'll take him number one on a win. I'll take him in our game of skill here at Coaches. I'll tell Lawrence to, take him on what he does, and he's let me down. He's led laps. He's had really good cars, really fast speed, but whether it's been pit road, whether it's been other people's mistakes, whether it's been something like we saw this past weekend, up front, getting it kind of that track position built back and spinning out and losing it. I mean, it just happens, man. So I think that relationship maybe with Gibbs has grown sour, and I know the contract obligations and things has weighed on him. You don't have your hands in as many things that he does without those obligations weighing on you, because it's not just as simple as Kyle figuring out where he's going to drive. It's KBM Motorsports. It's all the employees. It's everything else that he's got his hands in. What am I going to do? Am I going to be able to make a move where I'm able to do this? Can I still keep this organization open? Am I going to have to close doors? And am I going to have to, tell everybody sorry, but I got to close the doors? So I know it's a lot of things that are weighing on Kyle Busch's mind, which now that I think the contract talks are done and he's kind of got a direction that he's headed, I think you're going to kind of see him come out and let loose. And to be honest, Bristol is going to be a place if he's got to, which I don't think he's got to win to get in. He's got to have some guys have some bad luck. But if he's going to have a really good, solid run, I think it's Bristol. Now, here's the thing again, y'all. We don't know what the next gen car is going to do on Bristol asphalt. We do not know that. We don't know what the tires are going to do. We don't know if it's going to be worn out. We don't know, because we race on dirt there, which I think is bullshit. I'll say that. There's another $1. I'll throw $2 in there because it is bullshit that we race on dirt, and they did re-sign that again for Easter weekend. I'm just tired of that. I don't like it. That's just me. I'm old school. Bristol should have 2 natural surface, not dirt, concrete, asphalt, whatever you want to do, but that's what it should be. It should be 2 of them, man. It should not be a dirt race, but we're going there. We have no idea what this next-gen car is going to do, but I think if there's somebody that's going to figure it out on Bristol, Kyle Busch is the man. We've seen this guy rip it up around Bristol no matter what they've done to it. He actually won the dirt race there in the spring. Got a good chance to win the asphalt race here in the fall, man, or the playoffs, or end of summer, or whatever you want to call it. So be on the lookout for the 18, but right now he is definitely on that not list. Got to get it put back together. Got to see some consistency and some speed back running up front leading laps. So we'll see what they do this weekend at Bristol. This might be the place, y'all. So that's going to wrap it up for the who's hot and who's not. I hope all you guys are having a great Wednesday night up there, man, out there. Thanks for tuning in right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. Rubbin' and Grubbin' has been a part of that since the get. I love it. I can't say enough about John and Adele Henderson and all the patrons and supporters here at Coaches that we have, not only for Rubbin' and Grubbin', but all the other sports shows that we do. Hot Grits, Carl DeMasi, Coach Carl Sports Report, who's on first base. I mean, there's just so many things, the 19th hole, so many things that John and Adele open the doors up and open the sound garden up and help us promote to do. So I always want to give them a big thanks and a big shout out, man, before we get into that next segment. But do love y'all. John and Dale love y'all much, and love everybody here at Coaches, man. But getting right into it, Kansas recap. And, man, I tell you what, there was a lot of people outside of Bubba Wallace that had a hard time following that yellow brick road, man. There was a lot of teams that got picked up in that tornado that took Dorothy over there to Oz. Nah, they took a lot of people straight to the garage, all right? So at the end of the day, man, we had a lot of playoff trouble for a lot of playoff contenders, man. Flat tires, pit road penalties, equipment penalties, just getting caught up in stuff on the track. Man, it was a wild one. It was a great race. I love Kansas. I used to go to that race. I've never been there with the progressive banking, but I tell you what, it's always one of my favorites to see. It always seems that there's drama there towards the end, whether it be guys, the tire fall off as well, guys coming on, late restarts, so on and so forth. But it didn't disappoint again, man. What a great race we had this past weekend there at Kansas, man. Wish my Uncle Brad was still up there. I'd love to go up there at some point in time and go back to that race again. But at the end of the day, just an awesome racetrack, man. But like I said, Bubba Wallace brings home the checkers there and silence some of those haters out there, y'all, which I'm not a Bubba Wallace hater. He's not my favorite driver by no means, but I'm definitely not a Bubba Wallace hater out there. And he makes history, which I think is good to talk about, to the most winningest African-American driver ever in NASCAR history. And he deserves recognition for that. But there's a lot of things that I think he deserves recognition for beyond that. And I'm going to get into those a little bit later on in the show. I've saved it for another segment. But, man, what a strong run, dude. I have a buddy of mine, Daryl, well, he likes me to call him Bubba Baker. He don't like me dropping his government name out there. But a buddy of mine, Bubba Baker, huge Bubba Wallace fan, man. And I tell you what, we were texting back and forth during that race, and I think it was right around early parts of stage 2. And I said, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, Bubba's got a car, man. He's coming. He's fast on that long run, man. He is fast. He's coming. And he goes, they still got to make pit stops and pit road and this and that. I said, man, good pit stop. I said, man, he might have this thing wrapped up. He's fast. And, of course, texting so on and so forth throughout that race. Lo and behold, Bubba Wallace got that win. He texted me and he goes, man, you know it, man. Yeah, I got to start listening to you a little bit. And I said, well, yeah. I said, I called it. I actually had him. My wife had him in the game of skill here, so that was good. Lawrence, we had a little communication issues. My phone was acting up down on Tybee this past weekend and couldn't get in all the picks. But for it to be official, we did have him as a top 3 and did win a little bit of units there. But I sent it out to Lawrence to take. I had Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, the 48, Bubba Wallace to win, which would have been a bigger payday. I think on the site I looked at 20-1 odds on the win. Plus, I think it was 6 or 5.5. 5.5, I think, is what we got out of the top 3. So we would have had him for the win, and the top 3 would have been a good payday. But we got him top 3 anyways. We did profit a little something there, which is always nice. We got Talladega coming up, so we're going to hit good there. I know that Lawrence is upset about it. We're going to make it happen there, man. But at the end of the day, Bubba does bring home that checkered flag and that trophy there. And, man, I tell you what, big kudos to him. And Booty Barker out there, dude. Booty is such an awesome dude, man. Been around the sport for so long and just an awesome, awesome guy and crew chief. And especially, I think, for Bubba Wallace, what a motivator and just positivity he brings. We heard him, Bubba get into it, and Booty kind of getting him right, man. Like, look, calm down. He kind of sets him back in his place sometimes in tones. As drivers, I'm sure, and athletes, everybody gets upset. But Booty does just an awesome job. So big shout out there to Bubba and Booty Barker out there for coming home and bringing that 45 car back in victory lane. Another win for 23-11 racing there at Kansas, man. So, love to see Denny Hamlin's post-race. I said that earlier about Bubba Wallace. I think that's awesome. And I think it just tells you what kind of guy Denny is. He's going to give you the equipment. He's going to give you the people around you to support the pit crews. But at the same time, he's a racer. And until he races for 23-11, and I think even when he does, honestly, at the end of the day, he's coming with the thunder. He's coming to win. He's never been the type that takes any shit from anybody. We'll donate some more money tonight. Doesn't take any shit from anybody. He voices his opinion on how he feels, whether it's right or wrong, or whether you like it or not. I hadn't always been a fan of what he's had to say, and sometimes I look at it as a little baby boo-hoo shit. But at the end of the day, he's kind of growing into his own and doing his thing. And I like what he's put together at 23-11, and I love the hunger that he still has. So a big shout out there to Denny Hamlin as well, man. So that'll wrap it up there, y'all, for the Kansas recap. We're moving right into the Bristol preview. And already hands down, outside of Atlanta, this is probably my favorite race to watch on TV. We've had quite a few really good races this year. The 600, the All-Star race at Texas minus the BS at the end. The Darlington race, both of them were really good. I mean, there's just a lot of really good races that we've had throughout the year. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to Bristol and seeing these next-gen cars on that asphalt setup. And, dude, I think it's going to be awesome. I mean, the last great Coliseum, this is a awesome race. I've also got, my wife also has extended family that's there every time. So this is something, dude, that I look forward to year in and year out. And it's Saturday, and it's at night, dude. So, I mean, what more can you ask for, right? Going to be fast, going to be hectic. We're going to have a lot of storylines to follow. I think there's going to be a lot in ups and downs for a lot of playoff guys throughout the night. And I think when the dust settles, we'll figure it out, barring anybody just totally getting wiped out there. But, man, we got a lot of payback coming. Might even spark up some new rivalry for the rest of the playoffs or the rest of the season. And I tell you what, man, the best part about it being this time of year, it's not on dirt, y'all. It's not on dirt. We actually get to see true Bristol racing at its finest, what all NASCAR fans look for. And again, we don't know what it's going to do. Tires going to fall off. Tires going to wear bad. We're going to have some tire issues. Who knows, man? We're going to find out when we get there, and I love it, man. So ready to get to Bristol Saturday, 7:30ish, man. Going to be awesome. As I said earlier, Kyle Busch won the dirt race there with a little mishap from Briscoe and Tyler Reddick doing their thing. If you recall, Briscoe kind of dove that bad boy in there hard, knowing I don't think he was going to make that pass at all. But, hey, he slung it in there. They got together. Kyle Busch somehow came through to win it there. So big shout-out to the 18 team. Man, he's got to figure out a way to do it now on one of his best racetracks throughout his career. I don't think there's anybody out there other than maybe Darrell Waltrip that's had his dominating time at Bristol, if you ask me. Outside of Kyle Busch, he just wins. I mean, he's got a knack for it. Doesn't matter when they reconfigured it, when they repaved it, when they changed from concrete to asphalt. They've done a lot of things in his career, and he's always found a way to win. So this is the time, if he's going to pull one out and figure out a way to win, it's now to happen. It's got to happen now. So we'll see if he can do it again, man. But getting right into it, my top 5, and number 1 on that top 5 list, y'all, I got Denny Hamlin. I know you're surprised by that. You didn't hear Chase Elliott, but I think Denny Hamlin, there again, 2 second-place finishes, starting the playoffs off. I think that Denny Hamlin's coming to a racetrack where he's had success before. He knows his stuff. I think they're going to have a really good car. They're going to have a really good setup. I think that Denny Hamlin, there again, might find himself in victory lane to seal the deal on the round of 16 and move on. So we'll see what he can do there. But I got him number 1 on my list, y'all. Number 2, y'all know he wasn't going to be far. Come on, man. Chase Elliott, the Bulldog, man. Chase the Bulldog Elliott, man. Going to be second. I think that there again, Bristol, you've seen what he can do there. I think he's been waiting for the last 2 months to get there. As soon as we left as soon as we left the one race, you know, is pretty much at the Watkins Glen. He pretty much had it on his mind, man. We're going to Bristol next week. I can't wait to get to Bristol. Well, we weren't going to Bristol that week, but I tell you what, we're here now, and I think he's got something for it. So better be on the lookout for that 9 and that bow tie. That Chevrolet is going. I think he's going to be touching some bumpers of quite a few dudes out there, man. So I'll take him second. 3 for me. Guy that won it last year, Kyle the Martian Larson, man. I'm telling you, this guy loves that outside groove. We know what it can do there at Bristol. We know how good it can come in late in that race. And I think if you want to see a guy that needs a win, he needs a win to bump that team back up and get him on this playoff hunt, man, that championship hunt. So I'll go ahead and take Kyle Larson 5. 4 for me, I told you guys, I got this guy put in here, and I think a lot of folks are going to go, what? None of these people? Come on, man. Looky here. Christopher Bell makes the top 5 list. I got Christopher Bell 4th. I got him above Kyle Busch, and it's just a consistency. And you talk about a guy that's been on fire and's got a really fast race car, and there again, can probably find his way around Bristol with some of the best of them. Christopher Bell, man, he's going to figure out. He's a racer. He's got a fast car. I think if we got a win coming up, 20 car could win this weekend right here at Bristol. We'll have to see where I got him on the money bets and what I roll with this weekend. I'll let y'all know next week. But at the end of the day, I got Christopher Bell sitting inside my top 5. And last but not least, this is a guy who has led a lot of laps at Bristol. Doesn't matter when. Nighttime, daytime, doesn't matter when. And that is Lawrence's man right here, Mr. Ryan Blaney. Been a little quiet as of late, but you want to talk about one of those weird-looking blue ovals that are out there that can run good at Bristol, it's Ryan Blaney, man. So there again, like I said, hasn't necessarily had the wins there, but at the end of the day has led a lot of laps, just always seemed to find trouble. I think he finally could have an opportunity to go out and get it done, so I'll take Ryan Blaney 5th, y'all. That'll wrap it up for the top 5. A couple dark horses and guys I think you really got to look at, and a couple of them are dark. I got 4 of them on here. A couple of them are a little bit further back in the yeah. Lawrence is calling them out right now, a little bit further back in the field. But a couple are a little bit further back, a couple aren't as dark. That's Eric Jones and that 43 car, I think, coming off a really bad showing there at Kansas when I expected him to have a better run. Had a little bit of trouble there. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to rebound here. Bristol's always been good to Eric. I think he knows how to get around. Petty's had success there in years past, so we'll see what he can do. Another one is the Trackhouse teammate of Ross Chastain, the 99 of Daniel Suarez. I think the 99 kind of gets things headed back in that right direction and kind of sticks his nose in there and reminding people, hey, I've been fast a time or two this year too. So I think those are 2 guys to look out for. Now on the other spectrum of it, you heard me talk about Kyle Busch there earlier. I think that's a guy you got to look out for. And another one that I think you really got to look out for is the 4 of Kevin Harvick. I mean, you can't ever count either 2 of these guys out when it comes to winning your in or it comes to Bristol and having to do what you got to do. They're both going to be hungry. And I can promise you if those 2 guys are 2nd, 3rd place and the laps are winding down and it comes to get to that leader, if they get close enough, man, they're going to get wiped out. That's just, I'm telling you right now, they're going to get taken out. They're going to get moved. The old classic Earnhardt Sr., I didn't mean to wreck him. I just meant to rattle his cage. You're going to see that this weekend if those guys are close. So moving right into that money bet, I'll tell you what, man, the odds are looking really good. Opening odds moving into Bristol. Everybody's got decent odds. It almost reminds me of a restrictor play or, super speedway race. They don't have it pegged out. There's just so much that happens throughout the race that we don't know. There's different variables. So a lot of guys are opening it right around 600, 550, 600, 700, 800 on a few. But there again, I don't venture too far. I told you guys my strategy is to it. I kind of break it down in tiers. Obviously, in that top tier, those guys are going to be favorites to win. I'm going to take a couple of those. We usually like to go in around 200 units, so no big bets on certain guys, just kind of 25 flat on each guy any way we like it. But I am going to take a couple of those guys to where if they do win, we break even. We walk away even on that week. And I tell you what, I saw that, Rhea. I saw that. but at the end of the day, man, it's kind of safe betting in that way. Now, the middle tier, and this is what's got me interested, the Ryan Blaneys, the Joey Logano's, the William Byrons, the Ross Chastains, those guys' odds are, 1,000, plus 1,000, plus 1,200, plus 1,500. So you got to look at that for me. And then there again, I told you a few dark horses, 48, 99, 43, the four, they all got somewhat decent odds, man. So it's going to be hard to pick. We'll see who I go with, but those are just some names I think if you're looking at betting, you should, especially if you're looking at top threes. The 48, the 99, the 43 are all going to pay good money out for those top threes. If you want to go a little bit deeper than that, there's a guy that I have on my radar that I think is going to pay big, and that's the 17 of Chris Buescher. He's had some really good runs there throughout his career. I think if Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing can put fast equipment in, they unload good, qualify good, I think Chris Buescher is the guy that might contend for that winner of top three, and that payday would be ginormous, just letting y'all know. So watch out for that, man. But before we get into this hard right turn segment, I do got to give a big shout out to another one of my main sponsors, Lamar's Body Shop right up here off Skidaway Road. Make sure you go check Lamar out, man. He's been servicing the Savannah industry with all their automotive body needs for over 35 years, man. An awesome, awesome human being, an awesome dude, and what better guy that knows his shit when it comes to automotive bodywork, man. So make sure you go up there again, right off Skidaway Road, Lamar's Body Shop. Like I said, I've had personal family members have their vehicles repaired. Lawrence has, numerous guys here at Coaches has. Doesn't matter what it's for, man. If you need a paint job, you need some dents pulled, new bumper, new this, new that, whatever it may be. Hey, like I always said, claims for that pesky insurance company, man, as a little estimate, go see Lamar, man, right up here off Skidaway. I tell you all the time, it's a wham. You can come to Coaches, grab some lunch or a cold beer while the estimate's going on, and go back up there, man. But locally owned, locally operated, right here, Savannah, Georgia area, right down the road from Coaches Corner on Skidaway Drive. That's Lamar's Body Shop, man. So make sure you check them out. And Lamar, thank you, brother, for everything you do for me, man. Love you, dude. So I'm going in, man, and I'm going in on this, and I'm going to take the glasses off for this a little bit. Haters going to hate is what I got this scheduled off as, man. And I'm not going to be a hater in some sense. Some things might come across as hating a little bit, but I don't mean it in that way. But all the backlash that Bubba Wallace catches for winning a race and for these different things that he does. So, if you've been keeping up the sport, we all know Bubba's history. We know he's got, mental health issues, anxiety, and different things that he deals with that he's been open about, which I think is awesome. So he's an advocate for that. We also know there in 2018, 19, 20, while our, country's going through these racial things with, just equality and the way that police treat certain race compared to others and just all the things we were going through as a country, Bubba Wallace stood up. He said, hey, Black Lives Matter too, yada, yada. He supported his cause, on his platform, which in today's day and age, that's what athletes do. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I think politics and what we're going through should be separate from sport. But at the end of the day, when you got an athlete like LeBron James and you've got these, African-American athletes, they're going to use their platform, man. I find nothing wrong with that. I'm down with it. So Bubba Wallace did the right thing, man. He stood up, voiced his opinion on it. You saw all of NASCAR stand behind him as well when a lot of this stuff was going on. Now the downfall to that is reports of, the noose being in the garage area and it not being and this and that. He caught some backlash for that. I don't think that's necessarily Bubba, putting it out there that this is what it is. I think that's, other people in the garage that found it and, hey, brought it to the authorities and no, it wasn't. Thank God it wasn't, to be honest. I mean, thank God those days and age have passed. Another thing he caught backlash for is Confederate flag being banned from, NASCAR races. Look, my political views on that go two different ways. I was born here in Georgia in the South. To me, it represents a lot of different things about the great state that we live in. I understand that the history of it goes hand in hand with slavery and different that. My mother was a school teacher. I'm not uneducated. I'm very educated on different things. But there again, to me, it doesn't stand to that sense. A lot of folks out there that feel uneasy, hey, cool, man. You never see it flying at my house, on my flag, on my stuff, you just never did. But to me, it represented something a little different. So caught a lot of backlash on that too as well. But at the same time, he's opening up the door for diversity, for change inside the sport to welcome different ethnicities and different races in. So big kudos there, man. Big shout out. Doesn't prevent me from going to the racetrack or watching a race at all. Doesn't prevent me from liking Bubba Wallace as a race car driver or as a person or a belief. That doesn't happen. That's not what changes. It steers me one direction or another for a driver. It's personality, it's charisma, it's driving style, it's character. So there again, but I'm just over him catching all the backlash and the heat for it, man. Haters gonna hate. There's a guy, I wish I had it pulled up on Twitter right now, that I wish everybody would go out and ban, that does nothing but state a lot of racial things towards Bubba Wallace and how NASCAR rigged it for him as a black man to win and yada, yada, yada. I can tell you that is utter bullshit. This man has earned his way into the sport by racing. That's what he grew up doing, is racing, and was pretty good at it and decent. And look, he went from petty motorsports to where he's at now at 23-11 winning races. Do I think that Bubba Wallace will ever go out and be one of these guys that you see win 8, 9, 10 races in a year? No, that's not what I think he is. That's not the talent that I think he has. Do I think he's talented enough and 23-11 has the equipment that they can go out and win races multiple times a year? Yes. Can they contend for a championship? I think depending on who he finds himself and how much we grow at 23-11, yeah, I could say that could be a possibility. I honestly do. And there again, like I said, I think politics and sports, and especially on social media, should be separated. Look, do I agree with everything Bubba Wallace says? No, I don't stand behind all of it. I don't agree with all of it. Do I agree with what he is able to bring to the table for a sport that is looking into diversity? Yeah, of course, man. Him, Kyle Larson, there's a few guys, Ray Caruth, a lot of guys out there, man. There's a lot of people out there, I think, that don't get the recognition they do. Jesse Ijawa is another one that's out there. There's a lot of guys out there, man, that just don't get the recognition they do, or maybe sometimes they don't get the opportunities they do. And hopefully that changes as it comes along. Bubba's opening those doors. He's kicking those doors open, man. So I just want to, throw it out there and give Bubba the support. Say, hey, Rubbing and Grubbing supports you, brother. I might not always support everything you do. And it's not meant in a malicious or malintentioned way. It's all 100% love. We got to have the uneasy talks and the conversations to understand where we grow from and go from here. And like I said, man, it's just one of those things. Everybody, it gives us the right as Americans to be able to voice our opinion on these media platforms. That's kind of what we do, but sometimes I really wish people would really put it in check and respect other people, not necessarily maybe their opinions, but have an educated way to go about arguing your comments and your support instead of just automatically jumping to a racial comment or a racial downplay. And that goes on both sides of the fence. It's not one or the other, or this ethnicity or these people and that people. This is all the way around too. It's not like it's all one race. So let's keep that in mind at times as well, y'all. Let's continue to grow as people in the sport. Let's continue to grow as human beings as we learn from some of these guys and learn more history about certain things. Let's continue to grow, man. But Bubba, I got your back up here, brother. Glad you got a win, man. It's awesome to see. Keep putting the time into the race car seat. Keep putting it in and keep growing, man. That's all what it's about, man. So that's going to wrap it up for the rubbing. We're moving on to the grubbing, man. And since we're wrapping up that first round of the playoffs, I brought up one of my main staples, one of my favorites here from Coaches. Now, I got this thing juiced up, but we brought up the gator bait, man. It's a wrap. So if you hadn't had this yet off Coach's menu, they do this a million different ways as well. Now I went in there and talked to one of my main man, Steven. I got them to make this as hot as they possibly can. I love hot stuff. I said, I want the hottest stuff y'all got back there. I don't even care if you normally sell it to the public. I don't care if you got some extra hot stuff, throw it in there because I love hot stuff. So gator bait, man, you got that. I got this from Classic, cheddar shredded cheese, tomato, lettuce, onion, all in a wrap. Got that the tenders fried, tossed up in here, man. I can't wait to get home, check this up. Main staple of Coaches, the tots. Reed and JB both got into them before I even started up here. So I'm going to eat me one while I'm up here talking about. But I tell you guys all the time, man, make sure you come up here to Coach's Corner if you haven't yet. Check out their food menu. I've eaten this thing up and down for I don't know how many years now. It is amazing. They do so many things, so many different ways. There's not one bad thing on that menu. And to remind you guys, the lunch specials that they run in here Monday through Friday are absolutely amazing, man. Scratch home-cooked meals, dude. You cannot beat it. There's always a couple options as well. Make sure you come out and show the support for this local restaurant. I'm telling you guys all the time, food's amazing, cold drinks, great food, great fun, great people. What more can you ask for, man? I'm telling you right now, come out and support coaches, y'all. I'm going to get one more before I get on. Yeah, I'm going to tear that down as soon as I get off here. All right. Moving right in there to shout out. Yeah, got to give a big shout out. You see these sunglasses I've been wearing for a couple weeks now. I'm hopefully we got some talks and negotiations here with John and Redfin Polarized. As you guys see these things are legit, dude. These are probably some of the nicest sunglasses I've ever had on my face. I've been in Oakley, man, for a long time. I've had a couple pairs of Costas as well. Look, man, sponsored up here at Coach's, Redfin Polarized, man, locally, out of local, Italy made. These things are legit, dude. I'm telling you right now, if you're a fisherman out there on the water, you definitely want to make sure you have a pair of these. They feel better than Costas. They're light to me. The lens on them, the lens capability to me is absolutely amazing. So make sure, like I said, you guys go out, check it out. Redfin Polarized, right out here in this area, man. So not only are you winning, getting a great pair of sunglasses, man, that's awesome. That, to me, like I say, blow a lot of other major brand manufacturers out of the water. You're helping support a local guy build this business, man. And I'm telling you right now, these things are awesome. What's that? Madison, baby. That's where they out of, man. Not far. Hop, skip, and a jump. I think a buddy of mine's mother-in-law was from Madison, that area. So huge, man. Georgia owned, man. You got to support it anyway. Anything Georgia, as long as it ain't Tech, I mean, you got to support that. So come on with it, man. But at the end of the day, do got to give a big shout out to all the coaches' shows as well. Let's see, Coach Carl DeMasi, Who's on First Base, just dropped last night, that new baseball show, keeping you up to date, everything going on in the major league. Look, we got Aaron Judge heating up. This man is going to break that Yankees record for sure. I mean, I don't know how many he's got to go. Well, we got 20 games left. I don't know their schedule. We got 20 games left, sitting at 57, I think. Come on, man. He's going to, I say at least a home run every other game. All he's got to do is hit one every 4 games, and he's going to get there. So looking out on that, Braves are killing it right now, dude. We're still neck and neck with the damn Mets, man, which I wish we'd pull ahead a few. We do got that Staple Series almost to close out the season against the Mets. So I think it's possibly going to come down to that. I really hope it doesn't. Hope we keep pulling ahead, man, and keep gaining and getting up, and let's go up like 4 or 5 games, man. Be great. But at the end of the day, make sure you check that show out. That's every Tuesday. Carl DeMasi, Who's on First Base, and Kyle Lawson breaking that down. You can also catch Coach Carl DeMasi Sports Report live right here at Coach's Corner on the Coach's Sports Network every Saturday, 9 until. That's keeping you up to date with everything prep sports in the Savannah area. So high school football, baseball, basketball, soccer, volleyball, track, swimming, lacrosse. I mean, Coach pretty much covers it all, man. DeMasi's awesome, dude. And I do want to give a big shout out. Coach does have a GoFundMe page out there for a cure for childhood cancer. So he's trying to raise $500 along with a lot of the other coaches and different people in this area. So if you guys want, make sure you go out to that GoFundMe page, help support Coach DeMasi. Me and my wife are getting on there. My wife and I are going to be donating on that. I tried to do it earlier this morning. I was in too much of a rush, but Coach, I do got a donation coming your way from Brandon and Lindsay and Rubbin and Grubbin as well, Coach. You know we're going to support you, man. But make sure you check that out. Definitely check out Hot Grits. You can download that podcast anywhere you stream your podcast. That drops every Tuesday. Travis does an amazing job out there, man. He's kind of building his repertoire right here back. He does stuff for Connect, Savannah Now, goes to a lot of the local high school sports, so Travis really knows his stuff about that. But that show is awesome, keeping you up to date, not only everything local here, national sports, dogs, football, breaking down college football in general, baseball, basketball news, everything, man. Travis does a great job. Travis, love you, brother. Hopefully get on there again with you here sometime soon. Talk a little NASCAR and talk some Bulldogs, man. Talk some of them dogs tearing ass out there right now, man. So also got to give a big shout out to my man, the myth, the legend, Little Snickers, as I like to call him. You know, he's the junior size. Candyman's the full size, but Sean and Brent Herb out here with the 19th hole, man. They always do an amazing job with that master show every year. So if you haven't yet, go on YouTube, check that out. That's amazing. Those dudes are crazy. I'll be on it again this year. They're crazy as hell, man. But anyway, it's an awesome show. Check that out. And last but not least, do have to give a huge shout out again out here to Coach's Corner, John and Adele Henderson, all the patrons, all the support out here, man. Awesome deal. And hopefully you guys are enjoying all the shows that we have here at Coach's Corner on the Coach's Sports Network. If there's something you guys like to see us talk about, make a show for, man, hey, drop it in the comments, man. We'd be more than gladly talk about it. If it's something that an event can happen once a year, twice a year, weekly, hey, man, who knows? It could happen. So, anyways, hope everybody's having a good Wednesday night out there. Do got to give a big shout out there to PJ Zuko as well. Green, White, Checkered, the NASCAR show that I did with PJ as well on the old 104.3 ESPN Coastal. It's back, man. PJ actually tried to get a hold of me last Sunday. Unfortunately, I was already at work. I had a really busy weekend. We had a manager, a GM on some PTO, so Brandon had to go in and do some things with Lindsay as well. So I didn't have time to do it. Now this week, we're definitely going to make time. I'm so excited. We've got so much to go over and talk about, not only from what we have moving forward as far as the show goes, as far as NASCAR goes, but also some stuff we just got to get caught up on in our opinions, man. A little bit different vibe than what we got going on here. It's definitely a great show, and hopefully I'll get PJ back up here on Rubbing and Grubbing before the season's out. Hopefully I can make that happen as well. But make sure you tune in at 104.3 around 9 o'clock this Sunday, man. We'll see what we got. So anyways, thanks everybody for the support. Hope everybody had a great Wednesday. Again, tune in this Saturday night. Bristol night race, going to be a crazy one. We'll see who's in and who's out of those playoffs moving on to the round of 12 when it's all said and done, man. So hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Make sure you go out there, hug your loved ones, give them a kiss like I always say, tomorrow's not given, man. And try to be nice, man. Be kind out there, y'all. Be kind. You know, the little old VHS tape, which I'm sure everybody that watches this NASCAR show knows what VHS is. But there's any kids out there watching, y'all know what a VHS is? Used to be a little sticker on it that before you took it back, it said, be kind, please rewind. There we go, y'all. Love y'all. Thanks so much. Hey, and as always, y'all, stay safe out there. Till next time, and as always, oh, we waiting on it. Here it comes. It's flying. Boom. Wash your hands, y'all. Love you. Hell yeah. That's a good win. That's a good pick for a win. Martin. Hell yeah. Well, they racing their shopping carts around Kroger?
Absolutely.
I like it, man. We ought to do that. That ought to be an event we do here. We ought to film that. Shit, yeah. Out here in the parking lot? Around, hey, the little 16th of a mile right here around the parking lot? Tricycles?
Somebody's going to get hurt.
I'd be down. Somebody would be hurt, but it'd still be fun as hell. We might have to do that, man. I might be down for that.